Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 28th of December of 2025. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. According to information we have, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, has already arrived on the territory of Miami, where he is going to have a meeting with the president of the United States of America, Donald Trump. As of the moment when I started making this video, the meeting hasn't started yet, but most likely when you watch this video, the meeting would be already finished. So today Zelensky would be asked just a simple question, whether Zelensky is ready to accept demands, accept a document that the Russian Federation and the United States of America are working with. As you know, and if you don't, I would like to remind you that currently there are two possible scenarios how exactly the peaceful settlement of the conflict in Ukraine can be developed. The first one is the document is a solution that probably and most likely has been already prepared by delegations of the United States of America and the Russian Federation. As of this document, we don't have lots of updates or lots of information about this document, because we see that parties are trying to make this work and this document as secret as possible. And the second solution of the peaceful settlement of the conflict is a 28-point plan that was created by Zelensky and his allies. And today Zelensky came to the United States of America with just one purpose, to convince Trump to accept this document but not the Russia's one. So we believe that he will fail this mission. Most likely the president of the United States of America will reject this document, and then, telling the truth, it is very difficult even to understand what is going to be next. Furthermore, the United States of America increases their pressure on Zelensky. Today we have lots of reports that anti-corruption officials are currently conducting searches in the offices of members of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, especially of the Servant of the People party that Zelensky is affiliated with. So lots of we see a very huge pressure from the US side. They're trying to force Zelensky to accept this solution. Furthermore, we had a lot of reports that Zelensky had calls with Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, with Emmanuel Macron, with Friedrich Merz. He was talking with them, he was discussing them this 20-point plan, and most likely he was talking with them what exactly the United States of America can do with Zelensky if he rejects this solution that was created by Russia and the United States of America. So, if you ask my opinion, this is the worst scenario, obviously, and first of all for Ukrainians. Now let's discuss the situation along the line of combat contacts. During the previous 24 hours, we received lots of important updates, so let's start. And first, let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians improved their positions significantly. The Russians improved their positions around the settlement of Stepnogorsk, and this was officially stated by pro-Russian sources, by the chief of the general staff. He stated yesterday to Putin that Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Stepnogorsk. Based on the report that was published by pro-Russian sources, we adjusted the map. Furthermore, we had a report that Russians improved their positions even further in the northern direction, and that first sabotage and reconnaissance groups of the armored forces of the Russian Federation were spotted just in, let's calculate the distance, just in 5 kilometers from the next settlement in this direction. We are talking about the village of Veselyanka. Furthermore, we had a report that Russians improved their positions, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, by the way, around the settlement of Lukyanovska. So according to neutral mappers, pro-Ukrainian sources, this territory is also either under complete control of Russians, or this territory is covered as a fog, with the fog of war, which means that Russians will continue their offensive operation with the purpose to establish complete control over the territory. Now let's move further. Let's talk about the eastern Zaporozhye direction, the city of Guliai-Polya. The city of Guliai-Polya report was taken by Russians yesterday, according to different sources. We have lots of videos about the situation in this direction. We have lots of reports. That was a very fast battle. We can't say that this battle lasted for months or weeks. This battle was much faster than the battle for the city of Pokrovsk, which is also very important, and which is also means means that most likely Ukrainians don't have enough of forces, enough of possibilities to stop or to slow down the Russians. Just remember, I would like to remind you that the battle for the city of Pokrovsk started almost a year ago. The Russians managed to approach outskirts of the settlement up to probably a year ago or something like this. And since that moment, the Russians were fighting first for the villages to the south. There were very heavy clashes, if you remember, for the villages of Kotlina, Peshchane, Shevchenko, Novotroitska, and many other different towns and villages in this area. And it was indeed very difficult battle for Russians, because there was moments when Russians were taking these positions, then Ukrainians counterattacked and returned them back, and then Russians once again attacked. But when talking about the Zaporozhye direction, we see that the Russians are just moving further in the western direction, and it seems that Ukrainians don't know what to do with them and how to slow down the Russians. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources published this article, and according to this update, the Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to break through Ukrainian defense and to approach the settlement of Zaliznichne. So the pro-Ukrainian sources expanded the gray zone further in the western direction for almost 3 kilometers, which is a very big number. So according to several pro-Ukrainian sources, this territory is also either under complete control of the armed force of the Russian Federation or is located in the gray zone or covered with the fog of war. And if we take this territory, then the distance to the first constructions, so the territory of the settlement of Zaliznichne, is already less than 2 kilometers. So the Russians are very close to the city of Zaliznichne, and the clashes for this area are going to start very soon. So this is the situation in this direction. Furthermore, we believe that this is exactly what the Russians are going to do. The group of forces is for the army's units of the group of forces is who was responsible for the battle for Gulyaye Polye will continue advancing further in the western direction through this dense network of the fortifications until they get the city of Orekhov from the northeast. Meanwhile, another group of Russians will continue their offensive operation towards the settlement of Ternovate, and when they take this village under complete control, of course, if they can, then they will try most likely to maintain the lines and to probably combine these two footholds and to create a big one foothold between the settlements of Dorozhny through the settlement of Gulyaye Polye further in the northern direction through along the river of Gaichur, and then from these positions Russians will continue offensive operation further in the western direction. So basically everything is ready. And today, several pro-Ukrainian sources and pro-Russian experts confirmed everything that we were talking about during the previous months, that that most likely in 6 months the battle for the city of Zaporozhye will begin. We're not saying that the Russians will be able to get the city limits of Zaporozhye in 6 months, but most likely Russians will be able to get this line in 6 months, which means that this is going to be the beginning of the battle for the territory, because from these positions Russians would be able to establish complete physical and fire control over the main supply lines, and this can bring to a complete disaster. Now let's talk about the city of Pokrovsk, Mirnograd. During the previous 24 hours, we received reports that Russians improved their positions in this direction also significantly. This is the situation by the end of the 27th. This is the end of the 28th. As you can see, we have colored the settlement of Mirnograd under complete control of the armed force of the Russian Federation. We have lots of proofs. We have lots of videos that confirm Russian control over the territory. And the most important, we have this weather. So you know that there is a snow, and if you take a look at the weather maps, you will find the snow as well, which means that this video is a very fresh one. So the settlement of Mirnograd was taken by Russians. The same situation took place in the area of the settlement of Rodinskaya. So now Russians also have a very powerful foothold, including the settlements of Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, and Rodinskaya, Dorozhny, and further in the northern direction towards the settlement of Veselye. And from these positions, Russians will most likely continue offensive operation further in the northwestern direction, as in the direction of the settlement by the name of Dobropillia. So, telling the truth, we can say, we can start calling this direction is a Dobropillia direction, and now we can say that the Dobropillia offensive operation has begun. But from the other side, pro-Ukrainian sources are saying that they are trying to concentrate, or they have already concentrated, huge number of forces in the area of the settlement of Dobropillia, and that Ukrainians in coming days will try to counterattack the city of Pokrovsk and the city of Mirnograd and the city of Rodinskaya, and the city of all these villages and towns, they will try to counterattack just with one purpose: to enter these cities before 2026 comes, to raise Ukrainian flags, and to get a huge or big media victory. The sources are saying that this counteroffensive operation can begin tomorrow on the 29th of December of 2025, and Ukrainians will attack, and their attacks are going to be very, very powerful. So let's wait and see whether the Ukrainians are capable to carry out a few more counterattacks. Let's wait and see. Furthermore, today we had, during the previous 24 hours, we had lots of important reports from the northern Dobropillia direction. Pro-Russian sources stated that the settlement of Sofiivka was taken by Russians, and the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation today stated that the settlement of Vilna was also captured by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. So these are the changes on the ground between these 2 days. Russians, as you can see, improved their position significantly, and of course they will continue offensive operation further. Of course, they will continue after, most likely, after a possible Ukrainian counteroffensive operation. As for the settlement of Konstantinovka, probably this is the most, I don't know how even to call, the weird direction, because yesterday the commander of the group of forces South stated and told Putin that the Russians control up to 50% of buildings of the city of Konstantinovka, but if you compare the maps between different mappers, you won't find even 20% of buildings under control of Russian forces. So most likely, most of the mappers show more or less the same picture that you can see right now in front of your screens. So, and this is a very weird situation. Anyway, let's wait and see, because we need to understand that despite the fact that Russians improved their position significantly in the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians will not be able to continue offensive operation without the city of Konstantinovka. So that is why we are waiting at the beginning of a major battle for the city of Konstantinovka in coming days. Russians will take forces, all units they have from the Pokrovsk direction, from the city of Mirnograd, and they will redeploy them in the direction of the city of Konstantinovka. Maybe this is the reason why Ukrainians reported that Ukraine is amassing forces near Pokrovsk to launch a counterattack. This was stated by the commander of the National Guard. Maybe this is the point, and this is the reason why Ukrainians are planning to counterattack in the area of the city of Pokrovsk, because they understand that if they don't counterattack, Russians will use forces to attack Konstantinovka, and Konstantinovka will fall very soon. So this is why Ukrainians most likely will try to win some time with these counterattacks, just to win some time for the city of Konstantinovka. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, we received changes. The most important one is coming from the territory of the village of Zakitna. So these are the changes, and these changes were made based on the video published by pro-Ukrainian sources. Here we can see lots of attacks that were carried out by Ukrainians on positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation already on the territory of the settlement. Furthermore, this is the most important, by the way, this is the most important territory between the city of Pokrovsk and the city of Slaviansk. First of all, we are talking about this strategical elevation. So Russians are tasked to take this elevation as soon as possible, as fast as possible. This is the most important area. If Russians are able to establish complete control over this elevation, then Ukrainians would be forced to fall back from this territory without showing any resistance, because from this elevation, Russians will be able to control everything almost till the Seversky Donetsk-Donbass Canal, which is obviously a huge strategical advantage benefit for Russians. As for the city of Liman, during the previous 24 hours, we haven't received anything special. The Russians are saying that there are very heavy clashes inside the city limits, but as of the end of the 28th of December, we still haven't received anything that can confirm that there are indeed clashes on the territory of the city. The Russians, according to different sources, managed to cut the most important logistic roads that go in the northern direction, but still without without updates about clashes inside of the city. During the previous 24 hours, lots of sources stated that Ukrainians launched a counter-offensive operation in the Boguslavka direction. Currently, there are very heavy clashes, and it seems that Ukrainians are trying to unblock the city of Boguslavka and to restore connection between the settlement of Borov and Boguslavka itself. For this purposes, Ukrainians are tasked to recapture these territories and to force the Russians to fall back. So let's wait and see what is going to happen next in this area, but this is a very important counteroffensive because the Russians are tightening the noose around the settlement of Boguslavka, and if this Ukrainian counteroffensive operation fails, then most likely Russians will establish complete control over the territory, and then Russians will be able to begin offensive in the direction of Borova. Maybe this is not even a counteroffensive operation, maybe this is an attempt from the Ukrainian side to break through the encirclement and to escape this cauldron. Maybe this is the situation, who knows? As for the city of Kupiansk, during the previous 24 hours, we received lots of videos that confirm Russian control over the central part, northeastern part, and that Russians still control the central part of the settlement on the Ukrainian side of the river Voskol. So let's compare the map between the dates. This is the situation by the end of the 27th, this is the 28th. Russians control probably approximately 25 or maybe 30% of the city of Kupiansk. We are talking about the territory with a strong control from the Russian side. The rest is either under control of the armed forces of Ukraine or in the gray zone. The clashes for the city of Kupiansk continue, and most likely Ukrainians will intensify their pressure. They will try to get good cards, best cards, before 2026 comes. So, this is the situation for the 28th of December. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye-bye.